I have a gift for you guys. The gift is me. That's why I'm all wrapped up like this. I am the gift for you guys with part 2 of Circe. And let me tell you, we have so much to get to. We have so much to get to, so many names that are going to pop up that I literally had to write them down. I literally had to write down all the names. But that's how insane, that's how interesting, that's how much drama is in Circe's life, and I am ready for it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another day with me. Let's nerd out with Lee. Okay, so where I left off. Just a quick recap. Just a quick recap. We said in the beginning of the time there was nothing. There was chaos. Chaos gave birth to Earth, Gaia, and the night. And Gaia gave birth to the night sky, Uranus, and they had babies. And Uranus was a horrible dad, kept throwing his kids in the underworld until eventually Gaia gave birth to Titans. And Uranus was like, "Yeah, these kids are gonna be a little bit too much for me. Just hide them." So Gaia takes them into Earth, out of sight, out of mind, for Uranus. The Titans. Then when Gaia is pissed, she's like, "Guys, go kill your dad." And they're like, "Mommy, we'll do our best." And then no, they actually said, "No, we can't." Except for the little one, Kronos. Kronos said, "I can do it." And then what does he do? He cut off his dad's balls. And then the blood falls everywhere. More gods are born. That's where we are. And then Kronos becomes just like his dad, but he starts eating his kids because he gets a prophecy that one of his kids, is going to overthrow him. So he keeps eating his kids until Zeus is born, and Zeus's mom actually hides him away to in Crete. And when he grows up, he comes back. There's a whole civil war. They fight. Blah 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 blah. The Olympians win. The Titans are in the underworld, except for a few, like the god of the sun, the god of day, Helios, who is Circe's dad. And Helios is an idiot. He's a douche. Everybody's mean. Everybody calls Circe ugly, and except for her brother Ares, who actually tells her all about Pharmaca, which is the magic of using herbs that grow from the blood of gods to do witchcraft, essentially witchcraft. And Circe learns that she can do witchcraft when she meets the love of her life. Well, at that point in time, she thinks it's a love of her life, a human called Glaucus. I mean, even the name is not cute. And then she turns him into a god, but the god is like a Squidward, like handsome Squidward. That's why she turns him into, and he's a god, and he becomes a douche, and all the nymphs are following him around. And one nymph in particular, Celia, says to her, "Circe, look at all my jewelry. Look at all my jewelry. Guess who gave it to me? Glaucus gave it to me." And that's where we left off. So let's pick it up where we left it off. So my girl Circe finds out that Glaucus, the idiot that he is going to marry Celia. And she goes to him and she begs him and says, "But why? Why not me?" I was so pissed when I was reading this part because, "Circe, stand up. Stand up. What do you mean? What do you mean? I can be the best wife. I'll be so loyal." I wanted to smack her. I wanted to. You turned him into a god. You are a goddess. You are powerful. And you are begging this Squidward. Squidward, you are begging him. And he's like, "Oh, Sissy, no. To me, you've always been like a sister." He family zoned her. Family zone, guys. Family zone. But again, this is Greek mythology, so we know what happens with families. But he didn't mean it that way. He's like, "Yeah, no, Cersei, no, I could never marry you. I'm a god. I'm majestic. I'm all the other gods are jealous of me because I'm marrying Celia, who is so beautiful." And Cersei gets very, like, she cries, and her pain becomes anger. And her anger is directed at one person, which is, I don't agree with her here. Why is her, I get it, Celia is not a good person, but why are you not striking at Glacos? You made him a god, and he went behind your back. But no, you know who she's angry at? Celia. She's angry at Celia and she decides she's gonna get revenge. She's gonna take revenge. And so what she does was she then goes and picks up her herbs, her farmica, and she puts it in Celia's bath. And essentially what she plans to do is she wants everybody, including Glacos, to see what Celia is on the inside. So essentially, make her as ugly outside as she is on the inside. And obviously, Circe wills it. And and we now know our girl is powerful. Our girl is powerful. She's not some weak little girl. So Celia goes to wash her bath, and after her bath, Celia goes to lunch with her family and Glacos and her friends and everything. While having lunch with her family, guess what happens? A leg literally whoops out of her, like out of her belly button, like a leg, like tentacle, like a huge slimy leg. And the next thing we know, more legs are coming out and more legs are coming out and more legs are coming out. And then she gets another head and another she has a long neck and she has scabs. She becomes a gigantic sea monster.
No, that's what she gets for marrying Skidward. What was she doing? I kind of agree with Circe. What are you doing with a man that's already taken? Okay, and after that, now you know what she must do. You know what must Circe do? If I was her, I would beat the man. I would beat him.
Yolanda, we don't condone violence, but yes, Circe, do something to Glacos. So Circe turns into a gigantic sea monster. And everybody's like, Circe wasn't there. But the next day, everybody's talking about it. You know one thing about these gods? Two things that they love. Gossip, three things that they love. Gossip, drama, and sex. Fucking. Like just doing each other non-stop. Doing brothers, sisters, animals. These gods are always busy. And they love drama and they love gossiping. So next thing they're all gossiping like, did you hear what happened to Celia? Did you hear? Oh my god. Oh my god. You know? And the worst, and so Circe now, she's looking around at all of them. And obviously she's like, I did that. I did that. But Circe is also, like I told you, one thing about Circe, she kinda is kind hearted. Kinda. Some people would disagree. So she kind of feels bad now, especially the fact that all of them have suddenly turned against her. So, oh, the fates probably turned her into what she was always supposed to be. You know how she is. Celia is a bit that word. She's that word. And like they say, even Glacos. Remember Glacos was saying, oh, Celia's the most beautiful maiden. I want to marry her. All the other gods are jealous of me because I'm marrying her. He's like, oh, nah, I was joking. I was never going to marry her. I just wanted to get in her pants. I had no intention of marrying her. I was joking around. That's like Glaucus is the worst. He is the worst, and I can't believe Cersei turned him into a god because oh my god, like do not give ugly guys a chance because if you give ugly guys a chance, they show you flames. They show you flames. Anyway, Cersei feels bad. I remember in part one I told you like one of the significant moments in her life was when a god um, gave humans fire and he got punished. I think it was Prometheus, if I'm not mistaken. And what Prometheus did was he essentially snitched on himself, and then Zeus punished him. Cersei decides that she wants to take accountability, and the thing is with Cersei, she's not doing it out of I did that. I'm powerful. You guys said I was ugly and weak. I'm not ugly and weak. I am powerful. No, she doesn't do it for that. She does it because she feels like she should take responsibility for what she has done. My girl Cersei, come on. Come on, Cersei. So Cersei decides to snitch on herself. I was annoyed. Cersei, why? Why, Cersei, would you do that? Why would you snitch on yourself? So she snitches on herself. She goes to her dad and her uncles and she says, um, I did that to Celia. I turned her into a monster. And they're like, you? No, you did not. And she's like, I did. I also turned Glaucus into a god. They're like, Circe, you're weak. You have no powers. You are not capable of that. Probably fate did it. Probably fate turned Glaucus into a god, and they turned Circe into a sea master. And Circe is like, no, I did that. Famika, I lay him down. I touched him and I willed it. They're like, and then Helios is like, you're my daughter. I see the future, so I get visions, I can prophesy. So maybe that's what you did. Maybe you prophesied. You are not powerful enough, and Famaka is doesn't have magic anymore. Zeus and I, we made sure that Famaka has no magic. And Zeus is like, I did it. I did it. And like then her dad is getting annoyed, and the uncles are like just looking at her and judging her, saying, mm, crazy, crazy girl. So it's like, I did it. And Helios gets mad. He's like, you are the worst of my children. You are the least of my children. You are not beautiful. You are worse than a mortal. I literally have to pay a husband to take you, and they will not take you. Guys, I was so sad. My heart broke. I mean, Circe knew that Helios was a douchebag, but he was her he's her dad, and I think she's always looked up at him. So hearing him say that, I mean, he'd already said it when she was young, but like now hear him say, you are making me hate you more. Like, dude, you already hate me. Even I was like, calm down. Calm down. What do you mean? What do you mean? Poor Cersei. So Cersei, she's like, okay, dad, I guess I was mistaken. She goes off and she cries. So now, obviously, like I told you, these gods like gossiping. So next day, everyone's talking about, oh my God, Cersei. Who does she think she is? Imagine, she's gone crazy. She's walking around. She's claiming that she has some magic, that she turned Glaucus into a god, and she turned Sia into a monster. And they're gossiping. And gossip travels fast. So this gossip travels all the way to her brother Hades' island kingdom. And Hades decides to come back, and he comes back, obviously comes back. Hades was the only one of her siblings that was like sort of nice to her. So Hades comes back and he's like to Helios, Dad, Circe's not lying. She's right. I also can use Pharmaca. So here's where it gets interesting. Hades, obviously we know Hades can do Pharmaca. But now Hades also says, in my kingdom, I've done incredible things. I've raised dragons. I've put potions on men. I've done so much. And obviously, if it was anybody else saying this, Helios would have said, you are mad. Please get away from me. But because it's coming from his favorite son, he listens. They all listen. And then Helios actually tells him, our sister, Pasifia, in her kingdom, where she's so Persifia is married to one of Zeus's sons. And don't get excited. I know Percy, Circe's mom, always wanted one of her daughters to marry Zeus's son, but Minos is weak. Like Minos is human. Like Minos is the son of a god and a mortal. So, and normally when gods and mortals have kids, their kids can be like Hercules. You know the story of Hercules or Achilles or whatever. But Minos is ordinary. He's weak. He's just low. So in Minos and Pasiphae's kingdoms, Pasiphae is apparently doing crazy things. She's doing witchcraft. She's making monsters. She's doing crazy things. And then her other brother, Perseus, in his kingdom, is also using Pharmaca. So Helios is like, what? So all my kids are using Pharmaca. Remember the first sentence I read is Circe said, before I was born, there was no name for what I was. So Circe was the first because she's the firstborn from her mom and dad. Obviously, her dad has other kids everywhere. But Circe is the first. And then also her siblings can use Pharmaca. Now they're here and they're like, okay, Helios is like, oh my God, now I have to go talk to Zeus and the other gods and find out what we do about this power. So he goes off and he talks to Zeus and he comes back and says, I've spoken to Zeus, I've spoken to the gods, and we have a verdict. Essentially, it is decided that my children, 80s, you can go back to your kingdom, do whatever you're doing with your magic, but we will watch you very closely. No one else has this power. This power is dangerous. We do not know what it does yet. But go back to your kingdom. You can do whatever you want. Just we're gonna be watching you. Then Theseus, her other brother, he's too far in his kingdom. He's fine. They're watching him. Um, Persephone is married to Zeus's son, so Zeus doesn't is like, it's okay. My son will watch her. But you, Circe, out of all the children, they stumbled upon their power. You went seeking for your power. And worse than that, you used your power on one of us, your fellow nymph. So you are banished. You are banished. You are out. We are banishing you far, far away into a little island. You are not allowed to leave that island. You're gonna stay there until the end of time. Remember, these are gods. They live forever. So they banish her. So and then Circe's mom, you know how she's narcissistic, she's egotistic, she thinks she is everything. She's like sitting there, she's like, did you guys hear? I created something new. Only my children have extreme powers. My children are so, so powerful. And then Helios finishes talking and she goes, it has been determined that this power only comes when I have kids with Percy. And Percy's like, kids with me. Me, I created powerful kids. Powerful, powerful kids. And then Helios finishes speaking and he says, it has been decided that I will have no more kids with Percy. And Percy's like, she screams, she's crying. And Cersei actually thinks that is the first time, she sees her mom crying. And her mom is crying not because she's getting banished. Her daughter, her firstborn child, is getting banished. No, she is crying because she can no longer give birth to her precious that will end up marrying one of Zeus's sons or something. One of Zeus's immortal sons. Worst mom ever. Worst mom ever. Anyway. So Cersei goes away crying. Yes, Yolanda.
Where's Hera? I know for a fact Athena and Hera would have stopped this. Where are they?
Hera is there. You know Hera. What I need to make a question about Hera. Hera is one of my least favorite characters ever. Like, her husband is cheating and she's blaming everybody. Like, there's one story that I read back in early high school about Echo. I'll talk about it one day. But Hera is probably, and Athena. I don't like Athena. Athena comes on a little bit earlier on. But let's move on. Percy's crying. Cersei has one conversation with her brother. And essentially, her brother's like, it could have been worse. It's like, what do you mean it could have been worse? He's like, if you are not our father's daughter, it would have been worse. Helios is a powerful god. Zeus could not Zeus wanted to make an example out of you. But he couldn't do that because our dad is a titan. Zeus is an Olympian god. He's a king of the gods, but our dad is a titan. So the only way Zeus allowed it is because, like, you could have been getting, like, punished severely. Like, they could be stabbing you nonstop. But because our dad said, hey, you can't go too far. You're going a little bit too far. And the reason why he does this is not because he loves her. He does this because of his ego. Because he's the king. He's like the god of the sun. He's the brightest of them all. He is the sun god. He is the day. He's everything. So imagine letting his daughter get punished. No. So anyway, and Aetius is like, to be honest, Circe, you brought it to yourself. You brought it upon yourself. Why did you snitch? You could have. And Circe is like, what did you want me to do? Did you want me to lie? Aetius is like, yes, Circe, lie. I was also saying, yes, Circe, lie. Why didn't she lie? You could have just lied, girl. I mean, and Eddie says something actually quite interesting. He says to her, for example, Dad and Zeus believe that I stumbled upon my power. They know for a fact I did not stumble upon my power. Everybody knows. But we're gonna just pretend like I stumbled upon my power. So you could have lied. Anyway, I think in the book we actually hear very little of ATS and AD, sorry, and he has so many an interesting story of his own. Like every single character that every single god from Greek mythology has very interesting story. But I think that is essentially like the we're not going to hear much about him going forward. And so Helios takes Circe to an island, this deserted island, just like a little island. It's quite big, like it's quite big because I mean, yeah, she has her own island, and in her island she has like a house, and this house, like there's food, like it's kind of like it's like kind of like a palace. Like it's not as grand as what she's used to, but it's not like it's like some they banished her. She's like homeless or anything. No, he makes provisions for her. But like right after he leaves her on the island, he's gone. No bye, no I'll see you, no I'll miss you, nothing, gone. So Cersei's there. She's it's so lonely. She's alone. But here's a very interesting thing. Here's an interesting thing. So in her little island, she starts to train. She starts to find flowers and tries to do magic and all that. She tries to do things like, for example, she tries to turn a little seed into a tree. She struggles, but as she's struggling, she thinks, oh my god, I just want to eat a strawberry, and you know what, it turns into a strawberry. And that's when she realizes my power is I need to want something. When I want something, I can make it happen. So that's when she starts doing like things. She turns like a mouse into a scorpion, but her power is limited. Like she can turn the external thing into something else. Like she cannot change what you are on the inside. Like the mouse is still a mouse. It's just in a scorpion's body. So then she gets a pet lion. I was like, oh, Cersei, you're living, girl. She gets a pet lion. She like has bears. She's like her island starts being grand. Starts being wonderful. And then she gets a visitor, her first visitor. Actually, I have to just check the name in case I get it wrong. Hermes, right. So Hermes is the messenger of the gods. So Hermes comes to visit her, and Hermes, like, he's the god of messenger of God. By messenger, I mean he's a gossiper. Like all he does is gossip. Like he just comes, tells stories here, stories there, stories here, tells her stories, and he's also very mischievous. And he also also guides souls into the underworld. So Hermes does actually a lot. He's a busy guy, but I don't know why he gets time to come and visit Cersei. I think he comes to visit Cersei because he's heard the stories. I mean, Helios's daughter, not very beautiful, turns a man into a god, turns a nymph into a sea monster. So he wants to see what he's working with. So he comes to visit her, start telling her stories about her siblings, like Pasiphae, who's married to Zeus's son Minos, about how they're always just like cheating and there's cheating scandals and there's all of that. Tells her the story about Aphrodite, the god of beauty and everything. So Hera, 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 Hera. So what Hera does is she's scared that Aphrodite will steal Zeus away. So what she does is she does this little trickery where she gets Aphrodite married to one of the ugliest gods ever. Like this guy is so ugly that the day he was born, his mom threw him off a cliff.
Oh, him.
Yeah, so Aphrodite marries him, and obviously she doesn't like. She's a god of beauty. Like she is like, no, and she starts cheating. Like she's just cheating, and so her husband is like on this mission to catch her. So Hermes is always telling Cersei all these stories about all these people, and then they start doing the dirty. They start doing the dirty. They start, So Hermes is actually her second lover. No, I think not her second person that she just does it with. Like, did she do it with Claudius? I don't think the book specifies it, but like Hermes is her first love, her second lover, and yeah, everything he's telling her. They're not in love with each other. They just like he is intrigued by her, and she's like, she just wants the company. And one of the things that Hermes, like, one of the stories that tells about Celia, about how she's like sea master and she's eating sailors and all of that. And Cersei's like, why isn't my dad and Zeus stopping her? And Hermes is like, girlie, these guys, remember when humans are scared, we are praying to the gods. So they love getting their prayers. So they are fine. They are happy that Celia is doing rampage and eating those guys, those humans and everything. And so when Cersei hears that story, she feels quite bad, but she can't tell Hermes that she feels bad because Hermes is he's infatuated by her, so she doesn't want to bore him, and he's mischievous, so she doesn't want to bore him. Anyway, Hermes goes away and he comes back later on, and when he comes back later on, he's like, "Oh, by the way, I heard a prophecy about you, like about us actually." "What does the prophecy say?" Cersei asks, and he says, "It just says one day one of my descendants will come here." He's like, "Do what? And come do what?" And Hermes is like, "I don't know. That's all. That's all he said." And Hermes goes away. And Cersei stays in her island. Oh. Hermes tells her something very, very important. He tells her about about the island that she's on. So the island she's on is the island of Ayeya. And that island is actually where a huge, huge battle happened amongst the gods. And so that entire island is just, there was like a lot of bloodshed, godly bloodshed on there. So, meaning that Cersei has a lot of herbs to work with. She can become extremely powerful on that island, which made me think like Helios definitely knew. He knew what he was doing. But it was not because he loved her. I think he did it because if he puts her there and she practices her magic and she becomes even more powerful, then he has an asset. He has an asset. And I think that's why he did it. Anyway, so Cersei starts practicing her magic, her pharmaca, and everything. And then Cersei gets another visitor. Um, this visitor, she knows who he is before he even comes on because Hermes is always telling her stories. So this is Daedalus. Daedalus. So Daedalus is a famous inventor, creator, all of that. So even when she sees his sheep, she just knows exactly what that is, right? Comes and he's like, "Oh, great Cersei, um, I'm here. I was sent by your sister. Um, I was sent by your sister, and your sister needs your help." And Cersei's like, "Why? My sister? My sister hated me. Why does she need my help?" It's like, "I cannot tell you, but she needs you to come very quickly. She has gotten permission from your dad and Zeus for you to come." So this is the first time that Cersei gets to leave, and it's because of her sister, her mean sister. So she's like, "Okay, I'll go." And then Daedalus is like, "One more thing. Your sister said that the only route we can use is the route that goes through the whirlpool. And the whirlpool is where Celia is." And so it's like, "Oh my god, did you come that way?" It's like, "Yeah." "And how many did you lose?" 12 men. So he lost 12. So his sister is not a good. His sister is worse. It's like his sister is yeah. So she's essentially sends these men to die. And she's like, Cersei needs to go through that route as well when she's going back. So Cersei's like, "Okay, fine, I'll go through that route." And obviously she takes her little herbs, her pharmaca and everything. And so she plans to just distract Celia as they pass through. So Cersei is passing through, um, and she's going to her sister's island. Her sister is married to Minos, the son of Zeus. And that's another reason why Zeus probably gave permission for her to leave the island. So she's leaving. They get on the boat. They're traveling, and so when Cersei gets on the boat, the first thing she notices is that Daedalus has a, a guard, and this guard was sent by Minos and her sister. And the reason why they do that is because they just want to keep him in place, like they keep him in check. And Cersei asks him, "Why don't you ever run away?" And he's like, "I've tried. I would love to, but she has something of mine, something that I cannot leave behind." We'll find out later what that is. So anyway, they go past in her sister's island, her sister's kingdom, and on the way they're obviously gonna pass by where Celia is, and when she gets there, she tells all the guys on the boat to keep quiet, and she takes a portion. I initially thought that portion was meant for Celia, so I thought she probably wanted to give Celia that portion, and Celia turns back into who she is. But I think because she needs to want it, and I don't think she has forgiven Celia and she wants to turn her back. So what she does is she turns herself into her brother Perseus, because Celia has always been in love with her brother. So as they are passing through, she turns herself into her brother and she says, "Oh, great, beautiful Celia! Oh, beautiful Celia!" And Celia's like, with a different head, with a different head, and Perseus, well, Circe in Perseus' voice and body says, "Oh, my beautiful Celia, I've been missing you. I hate my sister Circe for what she has done to you, and I'm working on turning you back. We will turn you back. Don't worry." And then Celia obviously lets them go past through. And as they're going past through, she turns back, and Celia sees it. She gets angry and she tries to get at him, but they've gone too far, and her little long ass heads cannot fit, and she throws a tantrum with her many arms. But that's that. So they make it to the kingdom. She didn't lose anyone. They all survived. When she gets there, like, her sister's kingdom is beautiful. Obviously, her sister's room, unlike every other room, her sister's room is completely covered. And her sister is there. She's in she's in labor, like she's in pain. She's about to give birth and she's crying, she's screaming, she's holding this girl's arm so hard that she's like literally bleeding. And every single room is covered. The reason why her room are covered is because remember who her father is, and everything under the sun her father sees. So she doesn't want her father to see her while she's in labor. So that's why every single, like, it's completely closed off. And she's there. And so she's like, "What do you want?" And then she's like, says, "Get everybody out." And everybody leaves except for her, Circe, and Daedalus. And at that point, that's when uh, she removes her thing, and Cersei sees like this huge belly, like huge, like it's protruding, and she's like, "I've been in labor for 2 weeks. I want you to get it out." And then they had to cut her open, and Cersei puts her arms in to take it out. And when she puts her arms in, like something bites her. And she's like, "What is that? What type of baby is that?" And then she pulls it out, and it's like half bull, half man, a minotaur.
Oh.
Half bull, half man. And like Cersei's like, "How did this happen?" Remember, she's the older sister and everything. It's like, "How did this happen?" Like, oh, apparently there was like a sacred calf that was there, and get what she did.
What?
She slept with the bull, just like her father. Her father was doing crazy things with his golden kettle. He was doing crazy things with them. That's why they were gold, because he was doing funny. I told you, these gods, man. These gods just be doing crazy things.
Only Zeus.
No, all of them. All of them. So Pacifica is like, "Okay, well, what do you want me to do? Here's a baby." So Cersei is like, "Why did you call me? I need you to do something about this baby. Do something about it." So Cersei, remember, she thinks her dad has the power of prophecy. So she tries to see maybe this baby's prophecy, and she sees this baby will not die, not anytime soon. It has a fate. It has everybody there that has a fate cannot kill them. They will live until their fate is fulfilled. So she says you cannot kill it. It's going to live a very, very long time. But the thing is, it has a thirst for human blood. So do something. So what they do, her and Daedalus, is they build like a little trap for it, and they trap it. But the thing is, it needs to feed. So they feed it all the prisoners and all of that. So Cersei is like talking to Minos and Pacifica about it, and says, "This is all I can do." Pacifica is, remember, Minos is he's Zeus's son, but he's human, so he's scared. He's scared. This thing wants to eat humans. It's like, "See this wife of mine, look at what she has given birth to, because all she does is just lay around with everything." And then Pacifica's like, "You don't want to talk. Tell her. Tell her about all the things that you do." So Minos is also horrible. He's sleeping with every single girl, like all the girls in the kingdom. exactly like Zeus, his dad. But thing is, remember he's king. So all these girls, it's not like they have a choice. Like the king says, "Come to my room." You're going to his room.
No, I'm jumping off the roof.
So anyway, so what she used her Famika thing, whatever, to turn his thing. Like every time he sleeps with a girl, like that girl gets scorpions inside her body and they start
Why
eating
does
her.
the girl?
So if she's human, they have no choice. It's the king.
I know, but like, why doesn't the king suffer?
Because he's Zeus's son, and obviously she can't make him suffer. But like, and the thing is, he doesn't stop. He just keeps sleeping with hundreds and hundreds of girls. So hundreds and hundreds of girls die. Imagine. Anyway, Circe's like, you know what? It is what it is. Before she leaves, she talks to her sister and says, "Why did you call for me? You hate me. So why did you call for me?" She's like, "So who would you have had me call? One of the gods so that they can go around gossiping about it and telling everybody, or one of the nymphs that we're gonna go running scared? I had to call you. You." I was like, because everybody hates you, everybody thinks that you're weak, but I've always known something about you, Circe. I've bullied you. Everybody has bullied you. We've broken your spirit, but every time you get up. And that's how I knew. I knew that you were quite powerful, that you were going to be powerful. And that's how I also know that you're not going to go around telling people these things. But obviously, everybody finds out that she gave birth to a monster, a Minotaur. And then the clever thing is they name it Minotaur after Minos, so that Minos can take the credit. It's like it's his idea. He made his goddess of a wife, sleep with that thing and have guys, it's hot. I'm having this again.
It's your second one.
I clearly don't learn. So, very nice. Mm. Oh, so cold and so refreshing. So, so that he can take the credit and say, "I made my goddess wife do it for my honor and all of that." And so the Minotaur, like they obviously build like a labyrinth. Daedalus builds the labyrinth to keep the Minotaur. Some people obviously try to come and like defeat the Minotaur and they die and whatever. But the Minotaur lives for quite a while. And so the Minotaur gets killed by one of these guys who comes and kills the Minotaur or the Minotaur. It's another story. Like there's so many stories. All the stories are actually intertwined. And so he comes and he falls in love with one of Minos's daughters, and so she tells him the secret of how to kill her brother. So when her lover comes out with the body, with the head of the Minotaur, she's like, she cries tears of joy and tears of sadness because at the end of the day, the Minotaur is her brother. It's quite poetic, really. That's another story. Just go read about it. So another thing about Circe and Daedalus, obviously, they he becomes, I think, her third love interest, but I think her first love, like her first real love, because they are very interesting. They're very um, they just get along. He's such a witty guy. He's witty. He's smart. He's everything. So she falls madly in love with him, and everything. But and she wants him to come with her. But the thing is, remember, he's been kept prisoner there, and his son. Guess who his son is? His son is Icarus. His son is Icarus. Quickly, the story of Icarus. So Daedalus is tired and he wants to escape with Icarus, so he builds these huge feathers made out of wax and everything. And they're supposed to jump off a cliff, and when they jump off a cliff, the feathers are supposed to take them to Egypt. And what happens is Icarus flies too high, and Daedalus is like, "Icarus, Icarus, don't get too high. The sun will melt the wax." And I don't know if Icarus was just too excited or he couldn't hear his dad, but he flew a little bit too close to the sun. You know that whole saying, don't fly too close to the sun like Icarus. So he flies a little bit too close to the sun, and the sun melts the wax, and he dies. And Daedalus, obviously, he escapes. He makes it all the way to Egypt, but he's so depressed, and eventually he dies. But Circe goes back to her island, and when Circe goes back to her island, this is where the myth the legend, the fear comes, the stories about Circe are born. So one day Circe's back in her island, she has her pharmaca and everything there, and a boat comes, and the boat is filled with sailors, human sailors, men. And they wreck, they're hungry, they come to Circe. Circe is kind, she comes in, she makes them food, she offers them, they eat, they drink, and everything. After they are full, they start looking around, they see all her fancy things, and they're like, beautiful, beautiful maiden, beautiful, beautiful maiden. By the way, they couldn't tell that she's a goddess. They couldn't tell. They thought she was just a human girl. They're like, beautiful, beautiful maiden. Um, it's getting late. We wonder where your husband is. She's like, oh, I don't have a husband. Your father or a brother, will they be joining us soon? And Circe is like, oh no, 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 don't worry, I'm alone. Again, Circe, again, she tells these men that she's alone. And do you know what they do? The captain stands up, he grabs her, chokes her, and he rapes her. If and like he was holding her so hard that like if it was a human girl, she'd have probably fainted. And but Circe, she was awake the entire time. This is a part where I was in tears this part because Circe has gone through a lot, and for this to happen to her, it's like it just broke my heart. It just really, really broke my heart. I think she just has always been, because I think so far, obviously she knows how ruthless men, gods can be, but I think she was just so naive, and she could have used her magic on them there, but she always tried to show kindness first, you know. Um, so she was raped, brutally raped, and actually, like brutally, that one of the guys says, "Ah, is she dead? I wanted to have a turn." Guys, pick the bay, pick the bay. That's all I'll say. Pick the bay. Like imagine they can see like, and he's like, "I wanted to have my turn." Anyway, when the captain is done, Circe gets up and she speaks her name. And guess what? The captain starts like he starts his nose gets bigger and his voice starts squealing and starts screaming until it sounds like
Big. Yeah, that's what
she
she's like.
she turns them all into pigs.
You know what?
All of
You know
them.
what it reminds me of? It. I think those like that part originally. I think it's supported by the theory of pigs are just those men because pigs. Have you not seen them? They all look like they're suffering.
That's what like Cersei turns them into pigs. I love Reddit, guys. Reddit is basically my TikTok. I love Reddit. Someone on Reddit said that she turned them into their true form. I was like, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything, but I don't disagree, but I'm not gonna say anything, but I don't
Can I
disagree.
say something?
She turns them into their, yes, Yolanda.
They deserved it.
They did. No, they
You know,
100% deserved it.
you know what she must have done? Send them straight to Medusa.
Yes. That's another story. Oh my god, Medusa story. I want to talk.
No, she pisses me off.
Let me carry on. Let me carry on about Circe. Circe, and that's where she gets the name the Witch of Ayayaya. That's where the witch she turns them into pigs, and obviously this becomes sort of like a routine. And it's not like she does it to trap them. It's like these men they bring this upon themselves. Like they come to her. She gives them food, and she just watches them, and then they all suddenly start looking around, looking at all her things, looking at her body, and when they make her move into pigs. So her island is now filled with pigs.
All those bears must be enjoying.
All those pigs. Because why? Because these men, even though there are stories going around about the witch of Ayayaya who turns men into pigs, they still do it. They still come here. Obviously, they don't know where the island is, and they don't know that she's the Circe. But the fact that they know the story, but they still come to the island and they try to do this to her. And then obviously as time goes, Circe becomes famous and her islands become famous. And so a lot of fathers, the fathers gods, they start punishing their daughters, their nymph daughters who are not um who are not acting right or who want to marry like humans or anything like that. They punish them by sending them to Circe's island. So next thing, at first Circe was like, she doesn't want them here, you know? And they were like sort of rude to her. But over time, like they started to learn from her, they started to help her around, and she even had so now her island is filled with pigs and beautiful nymphs. Beautiful. And obviously that's another reason why Cersei starts doing this thing, because imagine those men come and they rape the girls, these beautiful women, these beautiful girls. So Cersei starts, turning them into pigs. Night, one time, it comes one sheep and a boat, and when the boat comes filled with these men, Cersei obviously sends the nymphs into hiding, and she brings them into a house, and she puts out the food, and what do? They try to steal from her and rape her, so she turns them into pigs. And then later on, a few days later, another boat comes in, and I need to remember this name because this is important. If you've read the Song of Achilles, if you know the story of Achilles, if you know the story of the Trojan War, you know this name. His name is Odysseus. Odysseus. So he comes on. He's famous. Like Odysseus, he was part of the Trojan War. He is the one that gave the idea to build the Trojan horse and everything. So he's quite famous. And essentially, they gave him like a bag full of winds. And so essentially, he's supposed to go back after the war ends after 10 years. He's supposed to go back to his wife. I think his wife's name is Penelope. And so essentially, he doesn't go back. Like his story is quite fascinating. Pick it up, read it. So he doesn't after the war, he's travels like he's traveling for another 10 years or something. Along the way, he comes into Circe's island, but he goes to another island where he does a lot of things. He goes to another island where he meets Calypso, and he starts doing it with her, and all of that. So his story is yeah. She starts doing a lot.
But Calypso, I feel sorry for Calypso. So
yeah, Calypso's story is also similar to Circe's. I actually love Calypso, really and it's quite sad. All these stories are quite sad, all of them. So Odysseus' story is quite fascinating. So Odysseus comes and he comes and he's the first human man to come and not try to steal from her and not try to rape her. He's the first one.
W man, they need to learn from him.
And it turns out the men that just came now that she turned into pigs are his men. So he obviously apologizes for him, and Cersei turns them back into human. But they are terrified. Every time she comes close, they're terrified of her. Odysseus stays for quite a while. Odysseus becomes her fourth lover, but her remember there was a human that she turned to God. There was Hermes, the god of the messenger of mischief, gossip, and everything, who told her that his descendants would come. Odysseus is Hermes' descendant. Hermes is like his grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the prophecy being fulfilled. And then there was Daedalus, who couldn't come with her because of his son and everything. Then there's Odysseus. Odysseus comes and they stay for a while, and he just loves war. He started telling her all the stories about war, about Trojan War, about everything. He enjoys war. He enjoyed killing. He enjoyed everything about it. And he stays with her for a while, and as he's about to leave, he hears a prophecy that he has to go and capture one of her father's cattle, golden cattle. So essentially comes to her and says, "Can you please help me? I need to go." So Cersei gives him some herbs and everything and all of that. And obviously he has to go back home to his wife, and he doesn't go back. I think that's when he meets Calypso, stays with her for 7 years, starts doing things with her. He almost doesn't leave because I think he really, really falls in love with. I think he loved Calypso more than he loved Cersei, but Cersei really loved him. And the thing about Cersei, she remember when he left, he said, "Cersei, do me a favor. I need to capture your dad's golden cows." And Cersei gave her herbs, and in exchange, he gave of souls.
What?
Souls. So remember, Odysseus was traveling all the world doing crazy things. He's a pretty impressive guy, and along the way, he got the bag full of winds. Then he got a bag full of souls, like 1,000 souls.
Human souls.
Yeah. that he got. It's not like he killed him, but he got it from someone else. But he killed a lot of people. So he gets that bag, and he got a bag of souls, right?
Yeah.
And so he gives the bag of souls to Circe in exchange for the herbs. And he gives her one more thing. He doesn't know this, but he left her with one gift, one precious gift.
Child.
Circe was pregnant.
Oh my God.
Circe was pregnant with a human, with a human's child. But so Circe was pregnant, and she gives birth to her son, Telegamus. I think Circe got her name, like she copied his other son's name. I think his son's name is Telemathus, Tele something. But his son's name with Penelope is also something, Tele something. And Circe names her son Telegamus. So here's the thing about Telegamus is he's a little monster. Not like the Minotaur. No, not like the Minotaur. But he's like a little monster, like he's like a human baby. You know how human babies are. They're weak. They can die anytime. They want to kill themselves. Like I always say toddlers are suicidal. Literally, why are you climbing that? Your head is weak. You're gonna break. You're gonna die. But so Telegamus is a very, 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 very like horrible child. Not horrible, like he's sweet, he's all that, but like he's tough to raise. And Cersei's like, oh my god. But luckily for her, she's a god, so she doesn't even need to sleep. So she's watching him on the clock 24/7. 24/7. And the older she gets, he's telling him about stories about his dad and all of that. That backfires on her, by the way, because he starts to want to become like his dad.
Okay, wait, is he also like a demigod?
No, he should be a demigod, but he's like mortal. He can die. That's why Cersei's like, oh my god, this baby, I have to watch him non-stop. I have to follow him everywhere. But now here's an interesting. Another visitor comes to her show. This time less men come because they now know the story. But another visitor comes. Your favorite. I don't like her. Athena. And Athena comes, and when Athena comes, she says, "Give me that baby."
No.
She wants to kill the baby.
Oh.
But the thing is, every time she comes, she says, "Give me that baby, give me that baby," but she doesn't like kill him. So Cersei's like, "Wait a minute, Athena, you are so powerful. You're so powerful. If you wanted my son, you would take my son and kill him. But the fact that you can't kill my son is because he has a destiny. You remember you can't kill a human or anything if they have a destiny to fulfill." So so Cersei takes that bag of souls that she got from Odysseus.
I think there's a reason why Athena wants to kill.
Yeah. Just wait with me, we're getting there. And then she actually creates this spell. The spell actually keeps Athena out.
Oh.
So he can't come and take the baby. But this spell, like every month or so, she has to like renew it. She has to keep doing it. So it's a full-time job. But anyway, it keeps Athena away, and she raises her son. And the older he gets, he's very strong. He's all of that. He wants to be like his dad. Essentially, he wants to be like his dad. And one day, Cersei finds him building like a boat, like this shit boat, like the worst boat, like you are gonna drown. And he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I wanna go visit my father. I think he would love to meet me."
No.
And Cersei's like, she can't stop him. So eventually she decides that she's gonna help him. She's gonna build a boat for him. She's also gonna give him a tool, a weapon.
Oh.
So what she does is she actually kind of breaks the rules now. She leaves the island herself. But she doesn't go far. She just goes into the sea.
Oh.
Into the dark, deep ocean. And you know who she's visiting? Trigon.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
She goes to Trigon, and essentially Trigon has like this tail. And this tail of his, it has venom. And if that venom strikes a human, they die on the spot. If it strikes a god, they have eternity like of pain. Like their pain will never go away. They'll just be in pain forever and ever and ever and ever.
I need Trigon's tail.
So Cersei goes and says, "Oh Trigon, I'm here for your tail. What do I need to do? I need to do something to get it." And Trigon is like, "I know you. I know all your siblings. All your siblings have come here, including your brother Aetes. He came, but he left." And so he's like, I will do anything. What do I need to do? And he says, if you want it, you need to prick yourself, which is eternity of pain. But Circe is like, I'll do it for my son. I will do anything.
For someone who's gonna die.
For my son, I will endure anything. So she goes and she's ready to prick herself. And she's about to prick herself. Trigon removes the tail away. And is like, here you go, Circe. You can have it. So it was a test. You know, these gods like testing. Like, no one else, like, every time they hear that Trident says, if you want it, prick yourself, they just leave. Like, they like, it's not worth it. But Circe is the first one. She's worthy. She says, I will do it for my son. So he just gives it to her. She doesn't have to prick herself. So she goes and she takes like a stick, one of his Telegamus's favorite sticks, and she creates like a weapon. And she puts like a leather cover and says to him, do not open it. If you prick yourself, you will die. If you prick a human, they will die. If you prick a god, they will be in eternity pain. Only take it out if you are in danger, especially around Athena. Anyway, so he goes off, he sails off to find his dad. So the dad eventually made it home to his wife. But when he got there, he found a lot of men trying to get with his wife. So obviously, he chased all the men away. He killed them. And he also told his son, Telemachus, to kill all the girls that ever like slept with those men or helped those men or anything like that. And Telemachus is different from the dad. Remember I said Telegamus is similar to his dad. He wants to follow his dad's route. Telemachus, his first son, doesn't want to do that. And so, rule in ancient Greek, like there's a rule. If someone kills you, your son must avenge you. I think this is everywhere, all mythology. I've even heard it in African mythology. If someone kills you, your son will avenge you. So it's good to have sons.
Is that why African mothers love their son?
I don't know. It's good to they love their sons because their sons daughters marry and leave. Their sons stay. Apparently. That's why African mothers love their sons.
Yeah, their sons disappear.
But anyway. So Odysseus he's become very paranoid. Like, he did so much. Remember, in all his travels, obviously he made a lot of enemies and everything. So he essentially is paranoid. He thinks someone is coming to get him. He's just gone cuckoo. So when he sees a sheep coming, enormous sheep that Circe built for her son, he's like, who's that coming for war? And he goes out and he jumps on Telegamus and starts beating him. Telegamus is like, stop, I'm your son. But this man is so paranoid, he's like going crazy. And he mistakenly removes and he stabs himself. He pricks himself, like just a little scar. If it was a normal blade, he would have lived. But because it had Trigon's poison, he died.
I don't want to know.
He died immediately. And it's so sad. So he wanted to see his dad so much, and then he ends up killing his dad.
His dad kind of did that to himself.
Yeah, he did. And that was the prophet. And then Athena is pissed. That was a prophecy, remember? That's why she always wanted to kill him as a baby. She knew that he was going to grow up and kill his dad. And Athena loves Odysseus. Not because they were like doing anything, but because Athena is the goddess of war. And and Odysseus is like, he just loves war so much. So he's like her little hero, right? So that's why she wanted to kill him. So she's angry, but yeah, it is what it is. So now the people of Athens, they like, Telemachus, this dude, yes, he's your brother. We don't know him, but he says he's your brother. And he killed your dad. You need to avenge your dad. You need to take him out. Telemachus can't, it's a brother. So the three of them, Telemachus, Telegonus, and Penelope, they leave Athens and they go to Aiaia, Circe's island. And when they get to Circe Island, they live there for a while, Then Athena comes for Telemachus because she wants Telemachus to take over and become the hero of war. And Telemachus is like, that's not who I am. I don't like fighting. That's not me. I don't want this life. But you know who does? Telegamus, Circe's son. So Athena takes Telegamus and he goes off. So he actually has an interesting life as well. If you read up about him, he he becomes a founder of the city in Italy that is named after him. He does so much. He becomes also great. Circe stays with Penelope and Telemachus, and she teaches Penelope witchcraft.
Oh my lord.
Because Penelope actually had magic in her.
Oh.
So she teaches her how to use magic and everything.
She's just gonna
And
be
then
done.
after some time, Circe leaves with Telemachus, and Penelope stays and becomes a new witch of Aea. She stays and becomes a new witch of Aea. And then Circe sails off with Telemachus. The only way she gets to leave the island is because she threatens her father and Zeus. Like now she's like her son is like this hero that Athena wants to use. So Athena's not gonna piss Circe off. She has Trigon's venom.
Yeah.
And she has become powerful. Everybody now knows about Circe. So they give her banishment and she leaves.
Then does that make her like the strongest, or is they still like a
No,
greater
they
power?
like a lot of greater ones. She's just they don't want to piss her off.
Oh, good. Oh.
They're like so many powerful gods, hey? So many powerful titans in the underworld like Kronos. So Circe becomes powerful and they're like, okay, they can't hold her anymore. They let her go. So she sails off too. On their way, she takes Trident's venom and she creates like a portion and she feeds that portion to Scylla, the sea monster, and that turns her into stone. So she's not harming people anymore. Because Circe never felt right about the fact that she created a monster that was eating people. So she turns her into a stone and she's a stone now. You can find her somewhere else, into a great big mountain or something like that. And then she goes off to the beach and then she picks up those flowers and she puts them in her mouth and she wills herself to turn into, guess,
Human.
she wills herself to turn into human.
Oh wait, that's actually, I understand why it's better to turn yourself into human than watch your son die. So
I guess. Yeah, actually you're right. For me, I was like, Cersei, why would you turn yourself into a human girl? But I get it. Her son is gonna die. She doesn't want to watch her son die and everything. So she turns herself into human. Well, if you guys have read it or are reading it, and you guys get a different reason to why she turns, I think she also doesn't like gods and everything they represent. So it's both the fact that she doesn't like gods and everything that they represent, and the fact that her son is human and she doesn't want to watch her son die and all of that. So she takes it and she becomes a human and she goes off and she lives with Telemachus, Odysseus' first son, the one that didn't want to fight war, and she leaves. They start doing it. They get married. It's so funny. She slept with Hermes, the grandfather. She slept with Odysseus, the father. She gave birth to Odysseus' son. Now she's married to Odysseus' other son. It's like she's married to her son's half brother. It's Greek mythology, guys. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
I know they're not related, but now in my mind
They are all related. Okay, not her and Telemachus.
Yeah, but like
by
they're
blood.
related through one person.
Yeah. So yeah, she marries him. They live together until they die. Legend has it that she didn't lose her power, so she was still doing her little witchcraft even as a human. And she dies. I don't know if that's a happy ending. I think it is a happy ending because she got to live her life. I mean, they always thought that she was less than, like, and she just became a human. She lived, she loved, she gave birth to a son. Her son becomes a hero of ages, and she dies. She dies happy. She dies in love. She dies married. She dies happy. I don't know, man. But like, what do you think? What do you think? But that's Cersei, guys. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I love the story so much. I don't know if I should do the Song of Achilles. I feel like the story has been overtold.
What?
I find there's so many movies about Achilles.
Achilles.
I don't know if I should tell the story, but I would love to tell the story of Echo. I just found it's very short. Maybe I'll do one video where maybe I tell multiple stories. Like we can talk about Hera and her many. We can talk about Aphrodite. We can talk about Athena. We can talk about Echo. I love the story of Echo so much. We can talk about Achilles a little bit. I wouldn't talk about Hercules, it's overdone. But yeah, guys, that's it for me. I love you so much. Thank you for joining me.